I was born and raised in Indiana, but in 2021, I moved away for good, landing in North Carolina. And so I'm gonna share the top 5 regrets that I have after leaving for good. I'm gonna share the things that I really miss. I'm gonna share the things I don't miss at all, and answer the question, was it worth it? Would I recommend it? Would I do it again even? I'm here at 70-acre dog park outside of Charlotte, North Carolina with Penny. Going for a little walk here in the middle of the day. Beautiful, beautiful spring day here. And the 5 regrets that I have about leaving Indiana, a lot of them have to do with, I guess, the timing. So like I said, I was born in Lawrence, grew up in Castleton near Fishers, and went to school at Purdue, got a degree, and then went into a 100% travel job before then landing in North Carolina and moving here end of 2021, and really never looking back since. But there are a few things that I really, really miss about Indiana. The number one thing has to be the low cost of living. So North Carolina is inexpensive as far as states go, but one of the things that I never fully appreciated growing up in Indiana is just how inexpensive, how cheap it is to live and have a really good quality of life in Indiana. Like, my car insurance, for instance, here is 130 bucks a month, but even on my parents' insurance under 25 in Indiana, it was like 50 bucks a month. It was nothing. Might have actually been 30, I don't remember. Now, granted, that was a few years ago, but it was still much cheaper there. My parents' house is probably worth $330, maybe $350 in Indianapolis for the same house in a very similar area here in North Carolina. You would have to be spending somewhere between $430 and $450 to get something really comparable in a comparable area. And it's just because, again, North Carolina is inexpensive, especially Charlotte, for everything that you get is not expensive by any means. But compared to Indiana, it's really hard to beat Indiana. Now, the second thing, you might call me crazy for this, but even through college when I had no money, I would still go up with friends to visit friends all the time to Michigan. I love Western Michigan. We used to go vacation there growing up. I love the beach. I love Lake Michigan. It's wonderful. And I will say that's something that I really miss after moving here, is not having that accessibility to Michigan summers, because it's so pretty. There's so much to do, and it's just a really fun place in the world. And so I miss being able to just drive 3 hours, hop in the car, go up to Muskegon, get a cheap Airbnb, go up to Holland, get a cheap Airbnb, and spend a long weekend with a hot tub and some Lake Michigan, so maybe not white sand, but whitish sand between your toes. And here you got the Atlantic Ocean. Penny, come on. She loves to fall behind, but it doesn't have all the same things. Michigan's just a fun place, especially if you grew up in Indiana. Michigan will always have some very special memories. Now, the third thing, this was important to me, especially when I first moved here and when I first took a job out of college, because I took a 100% travel job with a subsidiary of Toyota out of Carmel, Indiana, when I graduated. So it was 100% travel. I was flying all the time. And Indianapolis has such an easy airport. It was rated as one of the top airports, if not the #1 airport in the US, multiple years. But the pros and the cons of Indianapolis's airport are one and the same. It is a small airport. So on the plus side, I would never show up to a flight more than 15 minutes before doors closed. In flying for work for 2 years, I never ever missed a flight. And it was because Indianapolis's airport is so small, it's so easy. Now, on the negative side, of course, it's so small, so you don't have direct flights anywhere, pretty much. Whereas Charlotte, because it is a hub for American, you can fly pretty much anywhere with a direct flight, and it's a lot easier in that sense. But the airport itself is not nearly as easy as Indianapolis, because I don't think anywhere can be as easy to get in and out of as the Indianapolis airport, because again, it's so small, in and out through TSA pre-check in like 5 minutes. It was always so easy. Now, number 4, and this is probably my biggest, maybe not the biggest, but top 2 in terms of regrets, was so many friends from college, from high school, from everywhere, either stayed in Indiana, maybe they went to IU to get an MBA or something, that's what my sister did. Maybe they ended up in Indianapolis to get their first big boy or big girl job, or many people ended up in Chicago too. And so even if it's not, technically Indiana, it's so close You can just pop over to Chicago for a long weekend, go see the boys, go see, your friend group. And you can't do that here because, especially Charlotte in particular, well, really all of North Carolina, it's an awkward distance from Indianapolis. So going to see friends, going to see family is tough. It's like a 9-hour drive. And so it's just long enough that you feel like you ought to fly, but it's not quite so long that you have to fly. And so then it's like, well, do I drive for 9 hours? Do I go take a quick, 90-minute flight, but then I got to fight going through the airport and getting picked up and then driving to wherever I'm going and spending a couple $100 on a flight. And then you're like, well, maybe I just won't take the trip at all. So I definitely have seen my parents and my family less since moving here, which is something that I don't know if I say I necessarily regret it, but I do miss it. And it's something that I am intentionally this next year trying to be better about, to see friends, to spend time with friends and family and my parents. Because and that's true of anywhere, right? If you're not intentional, it's really easy for that to slip away. And it's something that is important. Number 5, and this kind of goes along with that, oh my goodness, I don't know if you can see that. This is also something, you see that pollen cloud? It is a literal cloud of pollen. And we got bad pollen in Indiana sometimes, but it is not that bad. So if you got like really bad allergies like my mom, this time of year, beautiful weather, it can be really tough. My first couple of years with the pollen here was a little bit touch and go, a little bit difficult. I eventually got acclimated to it with some, local honey and all the homeopathic stuff and Claritin Clear. But the pollen is definitely, this video is not about the pollen. This video is about the regrets. And the 5th regret is actually college sports. So I've never been a huge sports guy in my entire life. Maybe that's just because ever since Peyton Manning, it was tough to root for the Colts after Peyton. As much as I love Andrew Luck, boy, those were a rough few years. It's enough to make you really reconsider watching football. But the college sports, again, and Purdue was just as bad for the most part, except basketball. Basketball, you boys keep it up. We're doing pretty good. There's not the same excitement around Purdue sports here. Like I said, I'm walking at the Whitewater Center with Penny, and the other day, this past weekend, there was a lady that was in all Purdue gear, middle-aged lady, and so I struck up a conversation with her. Turns out her son graduated around the same time that I did, and he was a mechanical engineer, and we didn't know each other, but she was, she'd just watched the game, I just watched the game, and so it was, it's really fun when you meet people out in the wild, so to speak, that also track Purdue sports, but they're few and far between. And to this day, whenever I go back to Indiana to visit my parents or my family or my friends or what have you, I always get excited every time I see somebody wearing Purdue spirit wear in Indiana, because you just very, very, very rarely see it here. And so I'm kind of conditioned to always get super excited. And that's not to say that we don't have a lot of Purdue grads here, because we do. A lot of my friends from Purdue ended up in the banking industry here in Charlotte. There's a lot of Purdue grads that get together for sporting events and that sort of thing. There's a brewery that's owned by a Purdue grad, and that's kind of the official meeting spot for Purdue games. So there's a pretty good community of Purdue people here, but it's just not, it's never going to be the same as Indiana, because Indiana's the mecca for Purdue, quite literally. Now, those are the 5 things that I really miss, really regret about leaving Indiana. But now for the things that I don't miss and I don't regret. So when I moved to North Carolina, my health went through the roof so much better, because I get out in nature like this year round. We have really warm winters. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. I get more steps in. People here are more health conscious, especially at least in Charlotte. People are much more health conscious. I got significantly more lean and shredded and stronger after moving here, because there's so many people that are more health focused and health conscious that it became really easy to get in sustainable, good habits. And Indiana's one of the most obese states in the US, and it's because we have a lot of cultural things, a lot of cultural habits that are maybe not the healthiest, not the best. And so I love how much healthier I've been since moving to North Carolina. And I already touched on it, but the terrible winters, I get really bad seasonal affective disorder. I need my sunshine, need it so much. And that's honestly, if there's one thing outweighs everything else, how sunny the winters are here and how warm they are. I wore long sleeves maybe 2 weeks out of this entire winter. It's something that if that was the only difference between Charlotte and Indianapolis, I would have left and stayed here, because I need my sunshine, if you can't tell. I love it, I need it, It's really important. Now, other things. We are so landlocked in Indiana. Sure, you got Lake Michigan, but there's no real mountains. There's hills in southern Indiana, and there's a little bit of water with Lake Michigan. In North Carolina, we have the Atlantic Ocean. We have the tallest peak east of the Mississippi. It's like 13,000 feet of elevation. So we have real mountains. We've got real beaches. We've got a lot of topography. I don't know if you can tell from this, but we got a lot of great topography. It's just a really fun corner of the world here with lots of outdoor stuff to do. And I love to do outdoor stuff if you can't tell. Other things that I do not miss. I absolutely hated the Midwest fake nice. And here people are real nice. They actually care. They actually say hi. When they ask about your day, it's because they actually care, not just because they're kind of putting up with your presence. It's like they actually want to have a conversation. And another thing that my sister and I talk about all the time is there's very ambitious people these other places. Like, for instance, in Charlotte, it feels like the first day of school, a lot of people move here to be here. They move to Charlotte for Charlotte. We have 117 people per day moving to Charlotte. And that's something you just don't get in Indiana. People don't have the same ambition. And it's something that my sister and I really, outside of, there's a little bit around Purdue, a little bit around IU, but outside of that, it's really hard to find people who are doing big things, who want to do big things. And in North Carolina, that was much easier to find that tribe, so to speak, of people who do value that. And I will also say, one of the other things, I don't know if, I never really noticed when I was in Indiana, it's, politically is not very, or, values-wise, maybe I should say, it's not very diverse. Everybody kind of says the same thing. And it's not even that I disagree with any of that, as much as I just really enjoy, North Carolina's a third red, third blue, third independent. And so I really enjoy how, just as a result, people don't put politics first, they put people first here. Maybe a better way of putting it is, it's just not a big deal, the way it is in many other states. Like Indiana, I lived in New York, it was a big deal there. But my sister lives in Texas, it's a big deal there. And it's just not the same big deal here as it is many other places. And I really like that. So the real question, was it worth it? Would I do it again? Because there are a lot of things that I really like about this place, but there's also a lot of things that I really miss about Indiana and where it came from. And I mean, to be fair too, there's a lot of things that are also the same. Like the cities are laid out very similarly. Charlotte is less of rows and columns compared to Indianapolis. It's less, I always say Indianapolis is kind of like an Excel spreadsheet and Charlotte's more like a spider web, but we both have we have 485 instead of 465. We've got lots of highways. It's very accessible, one of the most accessible states. Sure, it's not the crossroads of America, but it's damn close. And on top of that too, we got great universities here. Great universities, especially Purdue. Sure, IU, I'll give it to you, Notre Dame, but Purdue. I love bleed black and gold. And so sure, North Carolina doesn't have that, but we got Duke, we have UNC, Chapel Hill, we got a lot of great schools here. And I will also say, compared to the rest of the US, it's very inexpensive. Both of them are. So there's a lot in common too. But in terms of, is it worth it? I would say yes, because the sunshine is something I can't give up. And also the people here, they're so genuinely nice and friendly and kind. And I really love that. And I love it so much, in fact, that when I did get sent here for a project, my first job out of school, I decided to leave that job, leave that career that I worked so hard to get, and then just help people make Charlotte home. So I've been doing that ever since I moved here, and I absolutely love it because Charlotte's a great place to be able to get to share. So if I could give any advice to my younger self, it would be, if you know that you're never going to be happy in Indiana, don't avoid that. That was a mistake I made. And if that's you, I'm talking to younger me, don't continue to make that mistake. Go ahead and just explore other places to live. And if Charlotte sounds like a good spot, you can watch the pros and cons video I put together right here. And if you got questions, drop them below or text or call me anytime. Always happy to help. And as always, until next time, hope to show you around Charlotte, North Carolina.